Welcome back to the Missing Mora podcast. Tonight we have a really fascinating interview with a mysterious figure, well, slightly, I guess, mysterious figure, because we're not going to give his real name here, but we're going to talk mostly about West Point. We also hear a little bit from Sam's dog in the beginning of this episode. How are you tonight, Lance?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm doing great.
This was a great interview. This is a great conversation. We finally got somebody from West Point, someone who's been emailing us, had a couple of off-air conversations with this person, and the information is so refreshing and so necessary at this particular time.
It's interesting information, and just so you know that we did verify this person is who he claims to be. We did see some evidence of this. So he did go to West Point, and he did graduate with Julie Murray. And so he's got an interesting account of West Point and the culture of West Point, and I think that's mostly the bulk of this episode, but we do get into some personal stuff too.
The thing about West Point and talking about it for so long and looking into the case and seeing West Point, and Mora was at West Point, and she, I'm doing air quotes, got kicked out of West Point. People just hear that and they put together a whole scenario of the culture there and what the situation could be for somebody to get kicked out. It was really refreshing to hear this from somebody who was at West Point at the time, who could tell us that there is a process and how this could come about. And he talks about his circle of friends. He talks about how students interact. He talks about what it's like being a freshman, a sophomore, a junior, and he gets into some other things that are, frankly, you have to listen to him speak.
Okay, follow us on Twitter at MoraMurrayDoc, and if you're hearing this week, come see us at CrimeCon. Thank you very much for listening. Welcome to Missing Mora Murray, Sam. First question I have is, what is West Point like, and how difficult is it to get into West Point?
West Point is a very difficult institution to get into. I don't like to think of it like that, but I guess it is, because it always shows up as, the acceptance rate is very low. There's a very large physical component to getting in, and large mental component, mental being not just classwork, but I guess mental toughness. You have to learn a lot of military skills while doing that. So if you're accepted, you have to show leadership potential while you're in high school. And kind of a burgeoning growth mentally. But then if you are accepted, you end up going to what's called Cadet basic training, and that's the first summer there. And that starts at the end of June. So right after your senior year of high school. My first day of Cadet basic training was June 27th, 1997. So I basically had 3 weeks off from the end of my high school graduation until I went to basic training. And then you go into the academic year and you do your freshman academic year, which is called plebe year. And that's kind of brutal because not only are you expected to do a number of classes, well, all of your full academic course load, which is 6 classes, but then you have duties that you have to perform day to day, which includes distributing laundry, cleaning areas. There are things called minutes, which that could be a whole podcast in and of itself. It's or you stand under a clock and you're basically an alarm clock for upperclassmen to let them know when they have to go to formation before they go to lunch. It's a different world.
We've had numerous discussions and numerous comments about the culture of West Point, and I only have movie references really to go back on as far as what a military academy is like. Were there cliques? Were there groups of individuals that stuck together, or was it more like you're on your own?
No, I think there were loose cliques, and there were groups of friends who you'd hang out with, people you'd identify with. So I would say for like Julie and Aaron Searfoss's clique. So Aaron Searfoss was Julie's roommate, I think all 4 years. But everybody you hang together as a grade. So you identify as a class, but you might not hang out together socially. But if it came down to, one, I don't know, I guess there are like step down levels of, so you always identify with your friends and then your classmates and then with people that you went to school with. So it's a loose organization like that. Kind of like I think anybody would probably identify with, oh, hey, I went to, the same college as you. So you'd always be willing to talk to somebody. You might not be, socially interactive with them, but definitely willing to talk to them.
Was the culture outside of West Point one where if something happened at West Point and you were part of it, that stayed at West Point? Was the culture something like that where, yeah, exactly that. If something went down at your school with your group of people, even if it wasn't your group of people, if something went down at West Point, it stayed at West Point.
Was it like Vegas?
Was it like Vegas is what I'm saying.
No, so the military culture it almost can seem like, there could be a lot of conspiracy and cover-ups and stuff like that. Military culture is so simple and simplistic. The cover-ups had to end after Vietnam, so they went to a lot of it's almost like Florida and the Sunshine Rule, where any type of information that the police can get or that the police have gotten, the public is allowed to get it without a Freedom of Information Act request. It doesn't stay within West Point, and if someone does something wrong, then they really don't have a problem with doing it. I think that's where Mora hit her snag.
You mentioned there's a physical component and mental component needed to get into West Point. How does that happen? And you also mentioned checkups on high school. Like, who looks into you? Who looks into a certain person at a certain high school and says this person has the physical component, potentially the mental component, and maybe is displaying leadership in military schools when you're in high school? Who recruits you? Because I wasn't recruited. What the heck?
They have they have actually officers who are stationed, the regional officers that do admissions for West Point. So there's a Northeast region, Southeast, Midwest, Southwest, very, a lot of different officers, and they go around and they actually come and talk to you. I think that, so the written application for West Point was probably one of the shorter written applications that I went through for the schools that I applied to, got into. The essays, they were like, make this essay 6 sentences long, 1 paragraph, no more than 6 sentences. And you're like, oh, dang, but it's good. They put bumpers on it. But you also had to go through a physical test. You had to have an interview with an officer who comes in and sits in your house with your family. He kind of sees who you are, where you're at, what kind of support group that you have.
Is it like imperative for them to go to your house to complete that process?
Yes.
We're talking about it as adult men, right? But back then you're talking about 17 or 18-year-old kids. So you do need to see the support structure and the where what has made this person into what they are right now. And you also want to get a good assessment of the conditions, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a very thorough vetting process. So they're looking for people that are intelligent enough to, handle the academic workload that they put at you, which is the way that they run academics is that they want to make sure that every class that you have combined, there is no way that you can finish the work that you have to do to be able to turn in the next day. So you can never make all of your due dates. So you have to learn how to prioritize and then learn how to lose or learn how to not succeed. But prioritize and then, work on your failures, to do it. And that doesn't even include, shining your shoes, polishing your brass, making your bed, putting all of your hangers with your clothes on them canted in the right direction. I mean, so it's made to keep you in a constant state of anxiety, I guess, or how do you say it? Just you're never ever there. You're reaching, you're trying as hard as you can, but no one ever gets there.
Complacent. Yeah.
Right. It seems to me like you're explaining about being, like you said, prioritizing, being proactive, always being aware of every little detail that's going on, and they make sure that you're aware of every little detail that's going on. It's almost like controlled obsessive compulsiveness, where this has to be like this and this has to be like this, and in a way, I hope our listeners aren't listening to this and thinking that what a horrible way to live. I mean, that actually is a pretty decent way to get by when you're always striving for something. I loved what you said about how they teach you to deal with, like, they give you so much work you can't possibly get it done in that time frame, but that's not the point. The point is so you figure out how to prioritize and deal with, I'll do this now, and hey, this is going to have to wait, but I'm going to finish it. It's just going to have to wait. And then the next thing that comes up is going to fall behind just a little bit, but soon I'll get all my priorities straight. It's fascinating in that you never, like Tim said, you just never become complacent. You never become comfortable.
West Point, 200 years unimpeded by progress. It works as long as you understand what it's designed to do. I actually think that Mora got it. And I think that she brought a lot of her, the love and the security that she felt within a regimented environment. I think that she brought it to UMass.
What makes you say that she got that culture? And did you know Mora personally?
Yes. We had a party after the finals for West Point at that year. The party was down on Cape Cod. It's a couple days long. A lot of socializing, time at the beach, drinking alcohol, stuff like that. But no incidents whatsoever. In fact, as with respect to Mora, she was there, and saw her, talked to her for a bit, but she's kind of quiet and minding her own business. No, nothing bad, nothing weird. either.
Hey, Lance, have you heard of MHZ Choice yet?
Is that the streaming service that features mysteries, specifically European mysteries, dramas, comedies? The one that you stream to your computer, your TV?
Yes.
No, I've never heard of it.
Well, they have award-winning true crime series like Almost Perfect Crimes and The Godless, plus acclaimed crime drama like Spiral, In the Face of Crime, and Raid.
Do they also have TV adaptations from some of the world's best crime fiction writers? I love Agatha Christie, Donna Leone, Camilla Lackberg. Do they have these adaptations?
That and more. New content added each week, so you'll always have something new to watch.
Whoa. I just realized that this is European mysteries, dramas, and comedies. Sometimes I get drowsy if, I can't understand what they're saying.
Well, they have English subtitles, so you're in luck. I'm currently really into the show with Andy Garcia. He is in a fantastic show. It's Agatha Christie's Family Murder Party. 90 minutes each. There's 4 episodes. It's really a wonderful watch.
I can't even believe that we are in a world where you could have my favorite Agatha Christie and your favorite Andy Garcia coming together in one streaming platform.
It's really serendipitous. So you'll get that plus the entire MHZ Choice library, which includes over 2,500 hours of binge-worthy TV for only $7.99 a month. Try MHZ Choice free for 30 days, and after that, you'll save 50% off your first month. It's a crime if you miss this deal.
So if you visit mhzchoice.com/missing, you can get it for free for 30 days, and after that, you'll save 50% off your first month.
That's mhzchoice.com/missing at checkout.
Not only do I want to thank them for uniting Andy Garcia and Agatha Christie, but I think we should thank them for sponsoring the podcast. And remember, when you support our sponsors, you're supporting this podcast and Andy Garcia.
How did you find out that Mora went missing?
I was in New York doing work for my old company, working on a spreadsheet and boring as hell, but still working on it. Popped in my headphones and actually turned on the Generation Y podcast that I hadn't listened to, and it said Mora Murray. I said, Mora? Like Julie's sister? So I listened to it, and then they talked about her and being from Hanson and going to West Point and then UMass. That's how I heard about it. And then I heard about your guys' podcast that you guys were starting, and that's how it all got started.
And what year was that?
This was probably December of 2015.
That's crazy to me because we live in this world where, we talk about Mora and we talk about various other cases, and we just assume that it's a well-known thing. And you're from Massachusetts. You went to West Point. You met her. You're friendly with her sister. And in 2015 was the first time you heard about it. And it always strikes me as incredible when people tell, they haven't heard of this, or, even some people will say if Mora ran away with all of this, scrutiny and all of these people looking for her, she certainly would have popped up at some point. Something would have happened. But the world's, as small as the world's still a pretty big place.
It is. And you have it, at least from my perspective, I have friends that I've lost touch with, who are still good friends, but it's like you haven't talked to them for 4 or 5 years. But then once you talk to them, everything's it's like you never skipped a beat with them. It's difficult because even though I was on, I was friends with them, but I wouldn't say that I would reach out to them afterwards. If I saw him on deployment, sure, I'd say hi, or, if I had a reason to talk with him on Facebook afterwards, sure. But I hadn't, and they hadn't with me, so I had no idea. And with, with Bill, like, he kept it real quiet, like real close to the vest. And then, so I'd talk with people, but I think that there was just a lot of not talking about stuff, unless you were the actual person who had physical contact with those people at the time. The Army relationships, the Army friendships can always be picked up, but you don't broadcast what's really going on, especially with, the Murrays are, good, respectable, but very close knit Irish Catholic type of family. And, they keep their stuff mostly to themselves. And I think that's why Fred is misunderstood. But sorry, I'm going down rabbit holes now.
No, that's okay. You just mentioned Bill. You're talking about Bill Rausch.
Yeah.
How well did you know Bill during that period of time?
Honest Bob, knew him very well.
Was that his nickname?
Well, that's a nickname that me and a few other people had for him. The reason being is that Bill got in trouble for lack of documentation on some type of English paper or history paper that he was doing. Contested, and I know he feels like, or he documented it incorrectly. He didn't dot his I's and cross his T's, but wasn't trying to fool anyone. So the West Point system came down hard on him, and they made him a December graduate, which means he couldn't graduate with his class and he'd have to spend additional semester at West Point. That's why he doesn't get his own picture in the yearbook. He only gets his, the black and white picture. It sucks. But he picked himself up by the bootstraps, and this was when he was a freshman or a sophomore. But by the time he was a senior, he was one of the head members of the Cadet Honor Committee. The people that investigated, those types of honor infractions. No, it's not. His case is very not. It's very muddled. Like, mine was cut and dry. I used a fake ID, got busted. All right, that's fine. But Bill was, it was stupid, and he instituted a lot of changes to make it more, to make the honor system at West Point more realistic. So if you don't put a period, as opposed to a semicolon in your documentation at the end of your work, no, you're not cheating. You're not committing an honor violation. You just put the wrong punctuation there. And it was that silly.
Where did the nickname Honest Bob come from?
Well, we always used to give him crap for having an honor violation. But then when he became, one of the top guys within the honor committee making these changes, it was kind of an ironic and funny thing to give him the moniker Honest Bob.
There's a lot of speculation about how Bill treats women, and it's been brought up in various forums. And did you ever experience anything that you looked at and said, "Hey, that might be a little aggressive or a little possessive"?
No, I haven't. In fact, I know that's out there. He has always been he's very outgoing, but he's never been bad to anyone that I've ever seen. Actually, I'm more introverted than he is. I think he's extroverted. He's a good guy. I trust him taking care of anyone, in my family or extended family. And that's not just to sugarcoat or BS, because I'm friends with them. I just haven't seen it. And I don't know. I don't know what went on or, what the allegations are really about, but I do know who I've seen, and he's always a straight up dude. I trust him.
There's also been various comments about his mother, Sharon. Have you ever met his mother? Because they're the TV show or the program that everyone references in Mora's disappearance features his mother quite a bit, and to be honest, they sort of make her look as if she is a bit unhinged. Had he ever mentioned anything to you about his mother influencing his life?
No, actually, he always seemed like he still does. I still text with him. I talked with him over text about a month ago. I do it about every month. Just check in, see how things are going. He always seems like a standalone guy. I've never met his mom. I've never actually had any discussions about her with him. And likewise with me, like, with my family, we've just been kind of, one-on-one or, in our group of friends. But he's a stand-up dude. If you meet him, like, you guys would like him. He's a very, very good guy. And I'm happy for him now too, that he's he's got a couple kids, like, he's married, and I feel bad. I've never even approached him talking about Mora, but I know probably I've always, when we were having drinks or something, I'm always like, do I go there? Do I go there? And I always back off because I think that, you can kind of see it in him. It's still, he doesn't like it, or he's like, what the fuck? And so it's just one of those things that there are topics you don't broach with people, and that's one of them.
Did you mean when you see him and he looks like and you just made like a face that looked like you were frustrated? Is he frustrated with, do you mean that he's frustrated with people talking about it?
I want to ask, but I chicken out. That's why I make the face. I guess chicken out isn't the right word. It's just, I guess, like, through conversation, that there are topics that you don't want to bring up. It's like things that you both know, but you don't want to, but you don't talk about, kind of thing. The things that are left unsaid.
Right. You don't go there because it's uncomfortable. I also want to make clear that you're not saying he's uncomfortable talking about it. You're saying you understand the situation. And
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. You don't have to call me sir.
I'm sorry. What's happening?
I know.
Are you hiring? Do you know where to post your job to find the best candidates?
No, where would I? If, let's say, the Crawl Space Studios is hiring, where do we find great talent? Because it's important to find great talent if you want to have a successful business, right?
Well, that's pretty much the whole challenge of it.
Exactly.
But with ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to 100 plus job sites with just one click. Then, their powerful technology efficiently matches the right people to your job, better than anyone else.
And that's why ZipRecruiter is different, right? Unlike other job sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them. Is there some percentage? I wonder, probably what, like 80% of jobs?
That's exactly it. 80%.
I nailed it.
You nailed it. 80% of jobs posted on ZipRecruiter get a qualified candidate in just how many hours? Guess.
How many hours in a day? 24?
You got it.
I got it again.
It's that easy when you're on ZipRecruiter.
It's great. But you know what makes me nervous? I don't want my email inbox being flooded.
Oh, that is the worst. Well, I'm here to tell you that there's no juggling emails or calls to your office. You simply screen, rate, and manage candidates all in one place with ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use dashboard.
I want to find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by businesses of all sizes to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results.
Well, as of right now, our listeners can find out what it's like by posting to ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to ziprecruiter.com/MMM.
I like that promo code. That's ziprecruiter.com/.
No, it's MMM.
Oh, I see. Okay, one more time to try it for free. Go to ziprecruiter.com/MMM. Do you think that he in some way feels as though he could have done more at the time of Mora's disappearance?
I think that if he's haunted about it, and this is speculation, but trying to think of like minds, because we are fairly similar, in the way that we think about stuff. I would say that if he's haunted about the run up to it, the long distance relationship stuff, the difficulty of that. I think it's, it's tough to, if he's down at Fort Sill, to be able to get leave when you're in the officer basic course, to get leave to go look for your missing girlfriend, he had to really schmooze with the people that could say yes to him. Because typically the military doesn't recognize anything outside of like legal family. So my fiance went missing. Yeah, the Army could say, beat it. No, you're going to keep training. Like, she's not your wife. She's not your mom. So he must have had to really pull some strings to be able to get there. And I think that says a lot. I don't know how much searching that he did, but I've heard that he, was there within, hours, not days or whatever. Also, the phone calls sounds to me like a kid who's in his young 20s who has a long distance girlfriend who he's worried about. She's probably worried about him. They're probably on the rocks. But still trying to work it out either way, because Mora calls him when she's at 4 a.m. and he's calling her and he's worried. He's showing up. I don't know. There's some Bill, like the Kate Markopolis thing, and Kate was not digging Bill. Like, he's an interesting guy. Bill is, and he'd be a good guy to approach sometime.
Yeah. We asked him. He said not right now. But are you saying that Kate Markopolis wasn't a fan of Bill?
I don't know. Wasn't there some kind of like hang up? Like Bill was calling Kate, and Kate, they talked for a little while, or he was texting her. So
per the phone records, they had some calls that the day that Mora went missing.
It sounds to me like a boyfriend who's calling the BFF of his girlfriend. They're on the rocks, and he's probably like, "Hey, can you have Mara call me? What the F? Can we get this thing?" It just sounds like, a bad 20s movie, but someone actually goes missing, which is terrible. But, knowing, like, having been in Bill's shoes myself, like, long-term or long distance relationships that are long term and they're on the rocks, like that is always the worst part about it. If it was me, I would think that what haunts him was it something that he did or said beforehand that caused her to go away, and for whatever reason she went away. She went away. You know, good, bad, you know, foul play or disappearing, whatever. You know, was it me?
So you're saying you think he still harbors some guilt?
I don't think he harbors guilt.
Well, even though if he's not like specifically responsible, a lot of people harbor guilt in some of these areas.
I think that he wished that if it was me, it would be, I wish I did stuff better. Like maybe you know, did she go away because of me? You know, am I a part of this? I mean, he's not an active part of it, but not guilt, but maybe slight haunting. So somewhat responsible, you know, he questions whether or not he's responsible. Then again, I'm not a psychiatrist, so I would just think if it was me.
Yeah, I don't think that you really have to be a psychiatrist to understand that if this happens to anybody, even if you are in your early 20s and it happens to you, I don't know how long it would be before you don't think about that every day and say, what if? It's not so much haunting as it is like there's unanswered questions. There's something that's not. You said a couple of times that they were on the rocks, and a lot of people are going to listen to that and say, oh, she ran away because she was on the rocks with her boyfriend. But it might not have been a big deal with her. You know, we just don't know. I mean, I've probably been on the rocks with numerous girlfriends and had no idea I was on the rocks with them. And then the next thing you know, it's over. And I just don't want people to get the wrong idea and think that, you know, they were on the rocks and he treated her badly and that's why she took off. And that could be something that's in his head right now, thinking, what? You know, like, did I do something wrong? So I get what you're saying. I don't know if he actually is going to feel guilt, more guilt or more like it's just open-ended right now and just bewilderment. How could it possibly be? How could it possibly have gone on this long? And it's not even about him anymore. It probably was. It's a fascinating psychological conversation to get into, right? Because I'm sure for a period of time he thought it was about him. We're all kind of selfish when we're at that age. Him probably a little less than Tim and myself because we didn't go to military school. We didn't get that type of discipline. But it had to have been. It had to have been a certain period of time before he got over that selfish. It was about me. And then that has to hit you like, wow, this is where is she? She's not coming back. I've always looked at Bill and thought I just don't. It takes a certain kind of strength you don't have or you don't know you have to be where he is right now. Takes a certain kind of strength, and I'm not sure if like you'd ever get that if you don't have something like that happen to you.
You're in your 20s, you're dating another young 20s person, and it's long distance. There could be stuff that happens, and it makes long distance relationships very rocky. They could try. They might have had deeper feelings for each other. You know, I think that the disappearance bothers him quite a bit. I think that he pushes it down. This goes down another rabbit hole, but that the message that he got with the breathing and the crying or whatever that is attributed to, he wouldn't have gotten a Red Cross message had he not been legally married to her. So Red Cross messages go out to next of kin, spouses, parents, children, whoever is listed as next of kin. Bill wouldn't have been listed as next of kin if he was just Mora's boyfriend, even if he was engaged to be engaged. Even if he was engaged, unless he had legal paperwork saying, I am married to her and she is my next of kin, the Red Cross wouldn't have called him. That's what's always kind of struck me weird about that call.
What's the process that would involve the Red Cross like?
So the way that I've always engaged and encountered the Red Cross is if a service member, so let's say an Army sergeant, if he gets injured or killed, you send out a Red Cross message to their next of kin. And so it's a one-way, shipment, and the Red Cross has to contact them first, before anyone in the chain of command can contact them, or before it can go to the media or whatever. I've never heard of the Red Cross calling a civilian to an Army person, well, unless they are officially married. Why would they call Bill? That's what never made sense to me. The Red Cross doesn't call boyfriends and girlfriends. They call legal family members.
But if it was something he was trying to arrange a trip out of there and then they called him back?
He would have to ask them. But after the family found out, I'd have to look up the Red Cross rules, but, just from knowing, being a commander, a company commander, I've had to do this before, the Red Cross doesn't mess around with people unless you are legally or biologically part of their family.
Okay.
So that's what always has tripped me up about that message.
And he was pretty sure that it was Mora. I mean, just from the interview he gave that's in the Disappeared episode, he seemed pretty confident at that time. Doesn't mean that hasn't changed.
Father's Day is right around the corner. What are you doing as a dad for Father's Day, or is it a surprise?
We're pretty low key. Maybe go out to lunch or something.
I hope that your child gives you a gift that you can use. And I know you recently started shaving. Maybe your child's listening, and she can hear me say that dad might want a Harry's razor set.
My kid is only 2, but she does know how to use a phone already, so I wouldn't doubt if she's listening to this. So, Violet, if you are listening, I would love a Harry's razor set for Father's Day. It is a perfect gift. I mean, I'm thinking about getting it for my dad because he uses a straight edge every day.
Well, fortunately for your dad and for Violet, our friends over at Harry's have a special offer that you're going to love, and your dad will love too. They'll get $5 off one of their shave sets, including a limited edition Father's Day set at harrys.com/MMM.
This Father's Day shave set is the perfect gift. They sent us a couple, and they are just delightful. I can't wait to shave with this.
I've been shaving with Harry's for a few years now, and it's perfect. These guys at Harry's always seem to figure out the right thing, and it's a perfect Father's Day gift. It's a no-brainer.
And Harry's is all about a great shave at a fair price.
You're going to get 5 German-crafted blades, flex hinge, lubricating strip. It's 100% quality guaranteed. Full refund if you're not happy.
Only $2 a blade or less, which is half the price of the leading 5-blade razor brand. Shave sets start at just $15, not to mention $5 off when you go to harrys.com/MMM.
You're probably going to tell me it's sent to me all loose in this random bag.
Yeah, like a Ziploc bag. No, it comes in a sleek, giftable box with the option to add custom engraving and a personalized card for free. Is that ridiculous or what?
They have broken the mold, and then they went ahead and shaved the mold.
Go to harrys.com/MMM right now to redeem a special offer for fans of this show. Harry's will give you $5 off one of their shave sets. This is for a limited time only, so act now.
Go to harrys.com/MMM. You get $5 off. You help support the show. You give your dad a great Father's Day gift that he'll keep using. It's $10.
A lot of people email us, or a lot of people's minds go in this way where they hear, oh, that Mora was in West Point and she was really smart and her car was left somewhere and she vanished without a trace. Maybe she is now some kind of CIA operative, and that was a way to get her to disappear, her Mora Murray to disappear, and then she's free to be the CIA operative. As someone who went to West Point and probably had people who are CIA recruiters looking at you, like, do you know anything about that process of being recruited by the CIA, and would it ever happen like something like what happened to Mora?
No, that's not what happened with her. No, I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, no, that's nice. It's better to hide in plain sight. So she didn't. It wasn't that she was going off the grid because she was going. She black ops. She's not the knock. That non-official cover.
Do you know anything about that process?
Hiding in plain sight is the best way to do counterintelligence, espionage, all that kind of like spy stuff, and it's really not that sexy either. And they wouldn't, the company wouldn't they wouldn't make a huge weird show of stuff to get a 20-something recruit in there instead. Why not just ask her to come down to Virginia to spend some time with them?
Mora had gotten into some trouble, so I'm not sure if she's the kind of person that they would have been looking at for something like that at that point. And also, if they were going to do, maybe. Yeah. Okay, that's good. I want to follow up with that.
She's smart. She's personable. I think she, just like Julie, she's quiet. She's clever. I don't think in a bad way. I think that they know how to operate on their feet. I think that, Fred taught them how to, live life and stay out of trouble. Mostly, do your own thing, but don't get burnt by people. And I think for the most part, they've done that. And Julie's she's like a dang, I don't know, CrossFit demon now or something.
But if you were gonna be recruited by the CIA or something,
wouldn't happen that way.
It wouldn't instead of leaving your car in the middle of Route 112 in front of 3 houses, instead of that, wouldn't you just leave your car at Logan Airport?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's much less mysterious than it's like, oh, well, obviously this person got on a plane, even if they can't track what plane, or maybe they got into rented a car, or I mean, God knows what would happen at that point, but obviously it would be some path to escaping where she was in the middle of Route 112 in front of 3 houses in that area. It just doesn't seem to make any sense if you're following that path. Yeah.
And it would be that, if she needed a cover story, it would be, oh, hey, I'm going to work for the Department of State. And now I'm going to work down in Virginia for a while. She wouldn't even have to leave her car anywhere. It's not, I mean, it's cool to, kick those theories around, but it's, the more, I guess, sexy you get, the less sexy it is. And it's boring, and it looks boring, and it looks boring for a reason. So it doesn't raise flags. Like, now, a car that's facing the wrong way on Route 112 up in New Hampshire is not the way to, even if she was taken by the Black Chinook, to down to Langley. That's not the way that they do it.
Okay.
They'd be like, leave your car in the driveway, take a cab.
Good to know. Okay.
We'll pay your last month's rent, and or finish out your tuition for the semester. And then you have a new job down in DC working for the State Department.
What kind of training did you have to go through? And did that include survival training?
Yes. So the training that you go through in the first summer that you're there, so before you actually start your plebe year academic year, you go through cadet basic training. And that is a lot of time is spent on learning how to march, learning how to do close order drill, which is parading around with your rifle and big parades. You do some bivouacking, which is the military's version of camping, with guns, that only shoot blanks. You learn how to shoot a rifle. So the first summer is really the super duper basics. The second summer, where Mora was at before she decided to leave West Point, you do a little bit more survival type of training. It's a program, so it's right after your freshman year. It's called Camp Buckner, and it's a kind of a military installation about 10 miles away from West Point, which is, it's almost like summer camp. But you spend a lot more time out in the woods, learn how to tie knots, you learn how to dig trenches and, fight enemy in close combat. And then, everybody, well, at the time, they would send everyone on big, kind of like Greyhound bus style, and everybody would go. So it'd be 1,000 kids on a number of buses, and you go down to Fort Knox, Kentucky, to do armor training, which is tanks, basically. And that was always a good time. But it's all summer. You get about 2 weeks off before you have to, after your freshman year ends, you get about 2 weeks off, 2 or 3 weeks off, and then you have to go to Camp Buckner. And that lasts for the rest of the summer. And then you start your sophomore year. So I would say survival training, no. It's not going to teach you how to, eat berries or twigs, or, how to kill wildlife, or, snare squirrels, which is illegal. But if you're starving, then you have to know how to do it. That you learn in more advanced military training, but outside of West Point. So I think I know where you're going. Are you going?
Yeah, I'm going with like
survive out in the woods.
Yes, exactly. Yep, in the cold.
If she could, it's not because of what she learned. Maybe she learns some fundamentals there, but to actually be able to survive long-term away from civilization, it would have taken a lot of training that wasn't offered to rising yearlings, so rising sophomores. It's tough to live out in the woods. Yeah, it's not fun. There are you learn all the basic considerations that you never even think about. And they don't have to teach them there. It's like a stepwise process, and it's only really the big second step, and they're still trying to teach how to shoot straight. So, all the ins and outs of survival training, she'd have to learn somewhere else.
Okay.
Not from school, not from West Point.
And you mentioned that when you're in that process, you go to Fort Knox.
Yep.
That sounds like that's where Mora got in trouble stealing the makeup at West Point, or while she was at West Point. So one of the questions we had for you is, what happens if you're a student at West Point and you get in trouble? You get caught, say, stealing makeup, for example.
The Cadet Honor Code is a cadet will not lie, cheat, or steal, nor tolerate those who do. So cheating is cheating on a test. Lying is saying, oh, I was here, but you were actually there. And then stealing is stealing. It happens, like young kids make dumb decisions over dumb stuff, and I myself am guilty of that. My violation was I lied about my age. I was in Key West. I was 19. I don't feel badly about it, but it was wrong. So what happens then is if you are, well, let me back this up a minute. Your freshman and sophomore years, so your plebe and yearling years, are basically freebies, as opposed to because once you hit your first day of junior year, you are locked in to West Point. So you commit some kind of honor violation and you get kicked out after your junior year starts. The Army you'll get kicked out of West Point, and then you'll become I think you become an E4, like you become an enlisted person in the Army. I actually had one of my Ranger squad leaders was my classmate at West Point, but he got kicked out because he failed math junior year. So they're like, all right, you have to join the Army now. He's like, send me to the damn Rangers. So he went. And he was my squad leader. I was like, you're awesome. It was good to see him again, too. We had a lot of fun. So back to the story. Mora had just finished her freshman year. So she could either go through the honor process, which I'll explain in a minute, or I think she could just say, hands up, I'm out. And I don't fault her for that decision, because I think she just didn't want to go through the process. She'd be dragged through the mud. It's a process where basically I might have to edit this out, but it's basically a Maoist self-criticism to just stay at West Point. And even once you do the self-criticism, and you have to admit to everybody how awful you are because, you stole a tube of lipstick from a damn PX in Fort Knox, Kentucky. It's wrong to do it, but the process that you go through. So what happens is you have the honor committee recommends you. It's almost like a criminal, a grand jury process. But your judges and anybody that can debo you at any time are any of the officers that are above you. And they typically forget where they came from themselves. They forget what it's like to be 19, 20 years old. And it's funny that I'm saying that now because my peers are now those people. I'm like, don't forget where you came from. Yeah, so you go through basically a grand jury process, and then you go through what's called an honor board, which is you have a cadet jury of I think it's 8 people, and you can have witnesses speak for you. You have facts presented against you, and this such and such a person was out of his room at this time after taps, and he was at the bar, in Highland Falls drinking. Never done that. But then you have character witnesses, and then you have people on a jury who are cadets. So it's supposed to be a jury of your peers who say, all right, yeah, they messed up, but who cares? Let them go. Yeah, but there's where the officers come in and they say, oh no, he still broke the honor code. So it's almost like a judge coming in and saying, all right, this person's acquitted, but we're still going to give you the death penalty just because I, the judge, feel like it. And it really, the honor process it needs to get changed. But it is I guess it's a necessary process, but I don't think Mora wanted to go through it. And I think that she wanted to go be a nurse. I have a feeling she was probably pissed about leaving because I wouldn't doubt that she let her big sister down.